Okay, so let's talk about Nazis, and this is for educational purposes, okay? Educational. Um, not there are a lot of Nazis that were around, obviously in the 1930s, the 1940s, and they're still around in today's modern era. And the Nazis that were around during the Holocaust are most of them are unrepentant of what they did to the Jews, to the Romani people, to some gypsies, to political prisoners, so on and so forth. Hitler, you know, had ordered his soldiers, his army of Nazis. Oh, before I go any further, I'm just trying to make this clean and civil and educational. And not, be, you know, mean about it. So, him and his generals had given orders to, all the, you know, to all the soldier ants, the Nazis, soldiers that were, on the, you know, battlefront, that were at concentration camps, so on and so forth. They may be just be, they, sorry, they may have been following orders, but when they say that, they're still guilty of killing these people, killing Jews, killing Romani people, the gypsies, killing political prisoners, gay men, lesbians, people that they just consider to be undesirable and just in, Nazi society at that time as, less than. They were considered creatures to them, to the Nazis, which they're not, they're people. I have heard that Hitler had some Jewish blood, coursing through his veins, but that's just, through word of mouth. We don't know for sure if he had Jewish blood. And I also heard that he had a Jewish doctor that he supposedly trusted. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, because, this was like the 1930s and the 1930s. So within that 12 years, from 1933 to 1945, people have said, oh, he has had a Nazi doctor and, he didn't kill him. Okay. Supposedly, he had a Nazi doctor. Supposedly, he didn't have this Nazi doctor killed. Not Nazi doctor, but Jewish doctor. So, I have a couple of, Holocaust-related books. One is Anne Frank's The Diary of a Young Girl, The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and... hang on. So I'm back. This is the book, one of the books, about the Holocaust that I have. Our Darkest Night by Jennifer Robson. So far, it's good. I got it at Kroger. I'm on page 30. Um, I'm going to read the description on the back. It is the autumn of 1943, and life is becoming increasingly perilous for Italian Jews like the Mazin family. Which is amazing. With Nazi Germany now occupying most of her beloved homeland, and the threat of imprisonment and deportation growing ever more certain, Antonina Mazin has but one hope to survive. She must leave Venice and her parents and hide in the countryside with a man she has only just met. Niccolo Gerardi was studying for the priesthood until a wartime tragedy forced him to leave the seminary to run his family's farm. A moral and just man, he refuses to remain a bystander to Nazi atrocities. Rather than allow Nina to risk a perilous escape across the mountains, he offers her shelter to keep her safe and protect secrets of his own. However, Nico and Nina must convince everyone, his own family included, that they are married and in love. But farm life is not easy for a cultured city girl who dreams of becoming a doctor like her father. And Nico's provincial neighbors are wary of the stranger in their midst. Even worse, their distrust is shared by a local Nazi official with a vendetta against Nico. The more Karl Zwerger learns of Nina, the more his suspicions grow, and with them his determination to exact revenge. As Nina and Nico come to know each other, their feelings deepen, transforming their relationship into much more than a charade. Yet both fear that every passing day brings them closer to being torn apart. So, people like Nico and Nina in Our Darkest Night, some of them, marry for protection to a man they don't know, or go into hiding because of Hitler and his Nazis. Now, this is still educational. Hitler's megalomania, paranoia, grew from a seed when he was in World War I. Okay? And he, like many other Nazis, thought that the Jews were responsible for the First World War ending. That the Jews forced Germany's hands to sign, a treaty. I forgot what it's called, but I think it's called the Geneva Convention. I don't know, but let me know in the comments, but don't be hateful about it, because I will report it. But Hitler and most of the Nazis that follow him were not at all happy that Germany lost, and costed Germany a great deal during the first time around. So Hitler's paranoia and megalomania against Jews, well, his hatred for Jews, his paranoia against Jews, or just about Jews, really. His feelings towards the Jews were so hate-filled and so hostile that he had, killed 6 million Jews and millions of other people along with the Jews. Like the Romani people, political prisoners, so on and so forth. So the Jews were not the only people that were killed, but they were the main scapegoats, the main target of Hitler and his Nazis. Now, most of them escaped to Argentina and other countries just to hide. Like Josef Mengele. He went to Argentina, he went to other countries because there were Nazi hunters coming after him and chasing his tail to, make him face justice. And didn't catch him. Now, Mengele's son had found him at one point, and like most Nazis, Mengele was unrepentant of what he did because he thought that it was justified to experiment on children like twins, dwarves, little people, and give people diseases through incisions and whatnot. And yes, little people, like dwarf-sized people, were also put in concentration camps for experiments and whatever. All of these atrocities were made possible by one man, Hitler. Because Hitler wanted an Aryan race full of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryan children to run the world. Now, it would have been so much different now if the Nazis had ruled everything, starting in Germany. Now, Hitler is Austrian. Naturally born Austrian. Born in the late 1800s. So he was in his 50s when he died. People can die in their 50s, just as they can die in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 40s, 30s, 20s, whatever. People can die at any age because death has no, doesn't discriminate. Death does not discriminate whatsoever. They can... Anyway, I digress. Most people say that Hitler used a body double. That is just some conspiracy theory that has been going around since the 1940s. He shot himself. His wife, Eva Braun, for just a short amount of time, took a cyanide pill. Is it a cyanide pill? Some kind of poison pill. And Hitler took this poison pill, didn't work. And he decided, since this poison pill didn't work, I'm just gonna shoot myself. So that's what he did. Now, when you're dead, your body changes. Okay? Take Benito Mussolini, for instance. He was beat to a bloody pulp. Okay? I'm not going to get all too gory on here because I don't know what the guidelines are. But he was beaten to a bloody pulp, is all I'm going to say. And his body became different. Bloated, puffy. You know, your body bloats when you die because of all the gases and whatnot that's in your body. Hitler was the same way. When he died, every chemical in your body, is reacting. It's contorting. Now, I may not be a medical doctor of any kind, but I have a sense that a body can, distort in some way. And so, Hitler didn't look like Hitler when he was found in his bunker, okay? Because he shot himself, and gravity started doing his job. It did. Just like it did with Mussolini's body, Rasputin's body, and also Hitler's. To say that, oh, he's still alive, but where's the proof? Where? There have been a lot of sightings, again, still educational, of Hitler years after, Nazi Germany fell. If Hitler was alive today, he would have been in his hundreds and still trying to convince everyone that Jewish people are to blame for everything. The Jewish people have been scapegoats for a millennia, since the dawn of time. They've been scapegoats since forever. The Spanish Inquisition and many inquisitions after that are an example. The Holocaust is an example. Now, I know there are a lot of Holocaust deniers out there that deny that the Holocaust even existed. Then why do we have artifacts of people's items? Like their suitcases, their shoes, their clothes, their gold teeth, their jewelry, all of their, personal items. Why do we have them? Why do we have Holocaust museums? Why do we have the Anne Frank House? It's a museum to remember Anne Frank. To remember that the Holocaust did happen. But it is not being taught fully at school. Like, say, for high schoolers, for middle schoolers. Kids need to be taught about the Holocaust. But, again, I'm not sure, well, not again, but I'm not sure that kids from middle school or elementary school should not see that. Because they shouldn't, because they're young. That will scar them for life. Now, if they're in high school, that's ideal. Because young middle schoolers don't need to see all that gore and stuff, obviously. They don't need to read books that were banned, like Anne Frank, Harry Potter, A Handmaid's Tale, To Kill a Mockingbird, all that stuff. But Jews have been scapegoats for centuries. Everyone has said that, oh, Hitler is still alive. No, he's not. He's dead. He shot himself. Sometimes, if people succeed in shooting themselves, if they failed in the way Hitler did, they either shoot themselves or take poison pills. People who are dictators, tyrants, and all around megalomaniacs, they're cowards. Cowards. They take the coward's way out by killing themselves. Now, many of the most infamous Nazis have taken cyanide pills. Some were, some Nazi women were raped. That's a, alternate word for, the other word, rape. But that's called karma, where, that didn't sound right. If you are a person that has done this atrocity, you're going to get through the justice system. Like the Nuremberg trials for existence, or any other trials that are like the Nuremberg trials. But if you take your life the cowardly way, you're going to be stuck in limbo or end up in hell. I have seen a video on YouTube where a man had drank a drinking container full of tainted water, and didn't sit well with him, and he ultimately died. So he was in hell, and this goblin type of demon was his guide and showed him these cubes. He showed every individual person in these cubes, like from Idi Amin to Gaddafi, from Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, just to name a few. And he was talking about all these people that he saw, and then the last hellish box that he came upon was Hitler's. Hitler was in his own personal hell of a box. And we all know that the hellish concentration camps that the Nazis built, there were, crematoriums. And he was being burned alive. And he was basically reliving what he did to all of the Holocaust victims that he killed. And the guy said that he had a look of pure anger and pure hate. That he was even in hell. Well, that kind of happens when you're killing people. Condemn them to death when they've done nothing to you. That's what happens. Then he was brought back to life, and, it kind of makes you realize that whether or not you're a person that goes to church or don't, that, let's say if you're a church-going person, you can either find yourself going to hell, and that you're surprised that you are in hell. Because, you're thinking, oh, I've been such a devoted, follower of Christ, I shouldn't be in hell. Okay, well, if you're so devoted of Christ, then why have you gone to, a strip club, cheated on your wife, done all these horrible things? That's not Christian. That's not Catholic. That is not godly. Now, I know that we all make mistakes, that we fall from grace, that we, falter, you know, in the way of God, but still your actions can land you in hell. Now, am I perfect? No. I've made mistakes that cost me a job. Okay? I'm not going to say what I did because that's private. But I feel guilt for what I did. I do. And I've strayed from, the path of, Christ and righteousness and whatever, but I don't know whether if I'm going to hell or not. If I'm going to be earthbound or be in limbo or just on the precipice between heaven and hell, which, is limbo, and on like the spiritual plane or whatever. But the guy had said that Hitler was so full of pure hatred and pure anger that he was even in hell. And I'm like, well, he shouldn't be angry. He shouldn't be hateful about being in hell because he had landed himself there. He seriously did. He seriously did. And all of the Nazis that have done equally atrocious things to the Holocaust victims, I'm sure they have their own little hellish box that they're writhing in. Because if you are a person that is following orders, war has a way of bringing out the worst out of you. Brings out the worst in you. Have I been in war? No. But I know that if you've been in war, you are not the same person you were before you joined. You weren't. When you get home, you're a little bit older in appearance. You're, battle weary. You're this, you're that. And you end up with PTSD. But back in the days of World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, World War I, Civil War, it was called battle fatigue and shell shock. Because if you've had shell shock, battle fatigue, and PTSD, that was considered a weakness. That was considered a bad thing. But now we have the kind of help, the proper help for those that have PTSD. Proper help. Because people struggle with PTSD every damn day. Every day. Whether from coming back home from war, from wherever they're coming from. Whether from childhood trauma or trauma in their adulthood. Just any kind of trauma. They're going to have PTSD. Some sort of way. And Hitler has given PTSD to all the Holocaust survivors that survived him and his Nazis, that were liberated from these concentration camps. There's this one woman, I forgot her name, I think her name was Eva. I forgot what her name was, but she's a twin. Her twin sister had died because of Mengele's experiments. She has forgiven the Nazis. Forgiveness is a strong thing. Now, most Holocaust survivors have, shunned her because of this forgiveness. Do they have a right to disown her for being a Holocaust survivor and forgiving the people? She doesn't deserve it. They should not have shunned her because of that. But at the same time, their trauma runs so damn deep into the crevices of their body, their minds, that it is so ingrained that they cannot forgive these people who had tormented them. They cannot forgive them to save their life. And that's their choice, They have a right to forgive or forget. Or to not forget and to not forgive. That is their choice. They have a right to feel the way they feel. Every right. If you, let's say, get kidnapped by, a group of guys, and they, beat you senseless, and they've traumatized you to the point where you just don't want to live. But then you see the opportunity when all of them, leave, or that, let's say, all three leave and one stays to watch you, and they had, by mistake and by accident, left you unchained or whatever, and you escape through, let's say, an open window, on whichever floor, and you escape. You tell your story, but you end up having bodily scars, physical scars, and mental scars beneath the surface. Like for me, I have mental scars from my childhood in regards to my father. Okay? So I have baggage, just like those of the Holocaust, which is not the same baggage. It's not. My childhood cannot compare compare to the Holocaust survivors and to the Holocaust victims that perished. My childhood cannot compare. Cannot. I've had an easy life in contrast to children who lived in concentration camps. Do I feel bad that they had to go through that horrendous experience? Yes. Do I wish that upon myself? No. Do I wish it upon my enemies? No. But we have to realize that we cannot allow the Holocaust to happen again. We cannot allow it to happen again. We cannot. Because if it does happen again, God help us, is all I gotta say. Just God help us.